All right, and we're recording. All right, everybody, welcome to the Psychedelic Light Show review. This is episode 6, and we have a great episode here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guests on tonight. And these are all folks who have worked within psychedelic light shows and have done a lot of really interesting work in the past. And, we're very lucky to have them today. And we're going to just kind of have, introduce their work and then have a discussion about light shows. We're going to talk shop and have some fun. So why don't we go ahead and introduce everybody here?
Okay, I'm gonna start second generation Brotherhood of Light from 1988 till today. Okay, George.
George Holden, Abecrombie Lights. Started in late August 1966, and then formed Abecrombie in 67.
Okay, Bob.
First generation Brotherhood of Light, 67 to 72. And what was the other question?
No other question. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, John. Okay, John.
Yeah, I'm John Hardham, and I started Deadly Nightshade Light Show in 1967. And in 1972, I joined the Heavy Water Light Show and basically stopped with Deadly Nightshade. And Heavy Water performed our last show in 1986.
Okay, the brands.
Well, it's John and Suzie brand, and we have San Francisco Lightworks, which started summer of 1967 and continued on up through
present until we couldn't do any more
when is
shows.
the last live show we did was what? Or you and Charles did?
Let's see, last one. I know we
90s.
did some, yeah.
And
We did the exotic erotic
yeah,
ball.
we got into a regular routine of the exotic erotic ball in San Francisco on Halloween and New Year's.
Yeah,
We did like 15 years of that.
Wow.
yeah, we saw. So we showed some of those pictures actually on the show earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we continue to do that.
Yeah.
And then we did some corporate shows.
Yeah, it was interesting. We did some corporate parties that they didn't want us hidden away and rear projecting. They wanted us right smack in the middle of the floor so they could watch us do it.
Yeah, and do a lot of PR for the people that attended.
Here, work a dish, 50 cents.
That's part of the show, right?
Part of the show, yeah.
They're like, where did you
That's
go
awesome.
to school to learn this?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like
Yeah,
the Doors
that-
movie. The Doors movie. You guys were the light show projection thing was more important than Jim
Oh,
Morrison
yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim,
That was
Okay,
that was an awesome experience.
So Chris has, as usual, another slideshow prepared for us. And Chris, what do you got for us this week?
Okay, I'm going to kick off the slideshow and start explaining it. All right, so the whole thing was on our earlier show, we mentioned that eventually everybody got on the Fillmore posters, and we're really looking at the Fillmore West shows in general on this show today. And that's where the era we're in, the analog era of light shows. So let me kick in the slideshow, and we're going to show some posters right now. So here we go, and share. And then clean the screen. Okay, so can we see that Steve's LA billboard that he won a contest and got the Liquid Light Lab up there?
This is in West. This is in Hollywood. This is in West Hollywood. Yes, this is an art show. This is a saveartspace.org. They take unused ad space and will repurpose it and put artists' work up. So let's say there's like a neglected billboard or something like that. So it's a really cool organization. And I won this, and I think it was maybe 2 years ago or something like that. And it ran for the whole summer.
Okay, here's
cool.
here's our logos. So we got Abecrombie, Brotherhood of Light, Heavy Water, Liquid Light Show, Deadly Nightshade, and San Francisco Lightworks. So those are the people we're featuring today. These guys were all around in the heyday of light shows. So here's the last 2 shows that Brotherhood of Light did with Joe Cocker, Van Morrison at Winterland, and then with Johnny Winter and Boss Skaggs at the Fillmore West. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. And we've got Deadly Nightshade with It's a Beautiful Day and Chuck Berry. We got Albert King, Mott the Hoople, and Abecrombie down here. I should use a laser pointer. I can't get it. Okay, anyway. And now the next one's going to be Abercrombie and San Francisco Lightworks. So that's a pretty cool poster. And then next we've got San Francisco Lightworks, Heavy Water.
Oh, those are nice.
Yeah, those are Conklin, Lee Conklin. Okay, and now we got David Singer poster here. And this was the last show at the Fillmore. So it's kind of the heyday of this period. And we really didn't get too much poster after this.
Yeah.
And, so I'm going to do my laser pointer here. So right here, first of all, over here, we have Abercrombie on Tuesday night with the Rowan Brothers. And then we have Boss Skaggs and Cold Blood with San Francisco Lightworks. We've got Little Princess 109, we mentioned on the show. We've got Heavy Water, which is John's light show. And we've got Little Princess again. And the very last show was Santana, was Heavy Water.
Yeah.
So this is the last poster. It's a classic. It's probably worth quite a bit of money. And now here, this is another great one. We got John Brand over here. We got Suzie here is one of our guests. We've got Charles Suttle up here and Pete Rabinowitz, my partner. This is during the Doors movie. And that's Baby, the overhead projector. Look at that thing. Thing's beautiful. And now we got another guy that's down on our screen here. Bob Pullman, when he was a junior, with his, look at his rig. It's similar to Baby's with the pipe rig. And here we go. We got John Hartman and Deadly Nightshade back with the projectors. So there you go, folks. Can you knock us off the slideshow there?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's important for you to show all those, all those posters because again, the art form wasn't documented so well, and so a lot of times these posters are some of the only records we really have of all this work that went on. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And since we've kind of set the context of what those light shows were, and now we have the actual people here, we have the faces behind the art. So
Okay, so I'm going to start with my celebrity story here. And I was doing this light show at Red Rocks, my fourth show at the Allman Brothers. And, I was doing a rear projection thing. We were projecting on the rocks and behind the band. And all of a sudden after the show, this guy walks up to me and I recognize him. It's Wolfman Jack. And, he introduces himself to me and Wolfman Jack, for the people that don't know, is a syndicated radio guy. It sounded like a wolf when he talked. And, we had all heard him through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. He finally died in 95 and this was in 90. So it was just, to meet Wolfman Jack was something you listened to as a kid on the radio. It was just pretty amazing. So anyway, what do you got, George?
My story, let's see. Tuesday night, I looked this up, September 30th, 1969. We auditioned at the Fillmore, Rowan Brothers. So we're setting up and there's a basketball game going on, Tuesday night. And up comes this guy with a Bolex camera and a beard and kind of like black curly hair. And he says, hey, can I film your show? And I said, sure. So he pans it across, he does all this stuff, I didn't think anything of it. A couple years later, it must have been after American Graffiti came out. It was George Lucas. That was his master thesis film. Yeah, master thesis. It was the last days of the film, or his master thesis film. So we're in there just for a snippet, but it's just, I've seen a couple versions of us in there. There was more footage in the original cut. The other ones are a little different in our section, but it's all good to me. I'm glad that we got to do it.
Cool.
Hey, have you got anything, Bob, on
Once Bill Graham brought Chuck Berry up to the light booth, and I was doing a liquid, and he put his arm around me, just a one-armed hug, and told me don't stop. And I thought for years, don't stop doing light shows, but he meant don't stop playing with the liquid, because I was doing the liquid at the moment. So anyway, they left. and yeah, I've got other stories. I was at Janis Joplin's house once when she was washing the dishes just before she left, and she was going to a motorcycle meetup, and my friend was her driver, John Tolley. He was the brother of Signe Tolley, the first singer of Jefferson Airplane. But yeah, I had a few chance encounters with people, and I had the chance to go backstage, but my head was into the light show like it is now.
Yeah.
I'm just still into
Yeah.
the light show.
Yeah.
The bug bit me hard.
Okay, John Hardham, what do you got going? Got any
Yeah,
good
you know,
stories?
Bob and I, we both were in the same crowd a lot, and I do recall lots of encounters with various people. That the one that I really enjoy was after we stopped performing in ballrooms and started doing all of our shows in planetariums. We were on the East Coast in Boston, and we would go to a planetarium and do a show for 6-8 weeks or a year at a time and live in that town. So we were in Boston. It was the summer of '76, and the Jefferson Starship was touring on the East Coast that year. And we all got together at a restaurant in downtown Boston. And, you know, these were people that I had, you know, had some contact with when doing light shows, but never sat down at a table with them or something like that. But Grace Slick had contact lenses that were shaped as a star, and they were red. So she had red stars in her eyes. And I said to her, you know, gosh, Grace, you've got stars in your eyes. And she was like, yeah. It was never clear to me how she could actually see out of those, but
Wow.
yeah, it was kind of cute.
Okay, fantastic. All right, Mr. Brand or Mrs. Brand, what do you got for us?
Well, we were doing a benefit for Bill Graham up at the Marin Civic Auditorium, and it was a group of about a dozen or more performers. We were out at the back of the house, front projecting, and when the intermission came, I went backstage to use the bathroom there because you couldn't get anywhere near the ones in the lobby. And the bathrooms are upstairs in the green room, which was up a spiral staircase. And I'm going up the staircase as coming down opposite me was Robin Williams. And I went past him, and I'm in there taking a leak, and I'm thinking, man, I should have had something really snappy to say to him. But, you know, oh, well. So I finish and leave, start going down the stairs. He starts coming back up the stairs. I said, hey, do you remember we just passed each other? Yeah. I wanted to think of something really funny to say, but I couldn't think of anything. He goes, oh, that's no big deal. It happens to me all the time. Well, what do you do? Oh, it's easy. I just open my mouth, it flies out.
Wow, yeah,
great.
definitely. Definitely, Robin. How about you, Steve? You got any?
Oh yeah, I got one that means a lot to me. Nick Mason, the drummer from Pink Floyd, he has a new band, Saucerful of Secrets, and so they came to play the Beacon a couple of years ago. And long story short, I helped the lighting team out because they had psychedelic lights, but they didn't really quite get their liquid technique down. So I had been in contact with them, and I sent them some supplies and all that, and they invited me, would you like to come sit on the show? And the Saucerful of Secrets band is like everything pre-Dark Side, which is like my favorite era of Pink Floyd, all that old psychedelic garage rock stuff. So I was like, oh, of course, I'm there, no problem. It's a 2-night stand. And, I met him the first night and backstage, and of course I was very nervous. I'm like, all I could get out was, thank you for having me. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. And don't say too much and sound stupid, right? The next night, though, after there's band introductions, in between, after doing like a little Syd Barrett tribute, and before he introduces the band, he stops and he's like, and you also want to thank some a very special person who's here, and he calls me out in the middle of the Beacon.
Oh,
and
wow.
and thanks me for helping him out with the liquids, and saying all the stuff that you see back here is done by hand, and stood up and took a bow. As luckily my fiance caught like the last 2 seconds of it on video. But so being congratulated by a member, or thanked by a member of Pink Floyd, is definitely one of the highlights of my career at the Beacon.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question here is going to be, what was your favorite show you did? And I'm going to head it off with out of the thousands of shows I've done, and the Allman Brothers were fantastic, and we've had just mega guests. But I was touring with the Doors of the 21st Century with Ian Asbury, and we played in France on Jim Morrison's 60th birthday, and we did a sold-out show. And I was doing Liquids with like Light My Fire, you know, with Robbie on guitar and Ray jamming out. And you know, it was just that moment when you arrived, you know what I mean? You're like, this is what I was meant to do all my life, you know, and it just hit me like that. It was like, it was that great moment. And it was just a special show. And we did the whole LA Woman album. And the band was really waiting to do that because they never got to do it because Jim died. So that's probably a really good highlight for me. So what do you got for us, George?
Grateful Dead, Berkeley Community Theater was July 14th, 15th, 1971. Bill Graham hired us in to do a show. I think Heavy Water, you were on tour, John, right, with Santana? Because Gary Jackson called me up and he goes, hey, I got a show for you, you know, and Heavy Water's on tour, so here you are. So yeah, anyway, it was a great show. We did a rear screen. It wound up in Last Days of the Fillmore.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we showed this. Cool.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's this.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great. Good.
Yeah. So no credit, but
Of course not.
no,
Of course-
right,
of
right.
course
You
not.
know, go figure, right? Bob Marks. Yeah, it's really tiny. You can hardly read it. But anyway, it's okay.
Hey, Bob, what do you got?
Yeah, I got this bomb sight, 20 beef from a B-52. You know, people used to look through this and drop their bombs. And anyway, I use it for a peaceful purpose. Put glass plates on it and Codolith 8x10s and let it revolve. And one time Jerry Garcia saw it and he loved it and came upstairs, brought a joint because somebody had passed it to him. They were going around and we finished it off and we chatted quite a while, and then he went downstairs and I went back to work.
How good was the weed? That's the question.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. I don't remember. It was that good.
Then it was good.
And it was good.
You were there then. Okay, John Hartman, what do you got for us, man?
So as I said, it was, I don't know that I could really recall any one particular show that seemed to really stand out. We ended up doing so many shows, so many thousands of shows. Seems like anyway. I mean, some days we'd work 4 shows, 4 nights in a row, right? For each one be an hour. And it was always just such a thrill, I recall, to always get to that show and get set up and get going and then do it. And it was something you really looked forward to and became an addiction almost, really. And when we stopped touring, it was hard to deal with that. And I always miss it. I always miss the thrill of being able to do a show and having, you know, bringing the audience in on it and just, you know, having it turn out well. It is an addictive thing. So yeah, fortunately I've actually been able to do another light show recently, a year ago, and then the club got shut down. So maybe more next year.
Yeah, I've been off the road for a year and I did it 30 years straight. So it's pretty crazy. And
Yeah.
John's going to take a lot of my old gear and start doing shows too, but we're just waiting for this pandemic to end. But so, okay, Brands, what do you got?
Well, it's, again, there's so many shows and so many different reasons, but one of the ones that really stuck with me was in the early days of us doing Fillmore West. And people always have this misconception that we know everything that's going to happen and we're completely rehearsed with all the bands. And of course, everything is perfect. Well, of course, we're hearing it at the same time the audience is hearing it. We have to second guess and try and figure out what's going on. And we were working, I think second bill was the Mark Almond Band, a British band, Johnny Almond. And they were good, they were entertaining. And the thing that we had 4 nights with them. And what was terrific in our case was they did the exact set, note 4 note every night. So we got to know exactly when we do things and little special effects that we do and it was the way it was supposed to be that never is, except in the case of, Brotherhood of Light, who does the same band night after night and pretty much has them figured out.
That one was pretty cool.
Yeah. But it was a small little touch, but the fact that we actually could do to the full extent of what we're able to do, it was great.
Well, and in my case, doing the Brotherhood with the digital show that I had when I did the Allman Brothers, the trouble was with Warren Haynes was the leader of the band at the time. And, Pete and I are standing there, he's got his liquids. I got all my DVDs, I got all my computers, I got all my cord captivators, all this, hundreds of different tracks ready to go. And the band walks up to you and they're walking on stage and they hand you a set list and they go, this is what we're playing. And it's different every night. So, and you just got to be able to go, I'm on the headset to the lighting guy. Okay, we're not going to do this song. We're going to do that. Boom, boom, boom. What are you going to do, Pete? Which liquid song? Boom, boom, right on the list. And then boom, you start the show. So
you definitely have to be able to think fast to do this, both creatively and also technically, things go wrong and some, light show stuff breaks or something doesn't work and you got to figure out in the middle of the show, solve a technical problem in addition to having this good aesthetics. So yeah,
we can tell you some stories about equipment failures for sure.
Oh yeah.
But
that's pretty cool. John and I would just look at each other because he would be doing slides and I would be doing liquids, and all we have to do is look at each other. If we see something was going on, we could overlap and we would know exactly. We were always in harmony.
The all-knowing.
That's good.
God.
Yeah. So you guys can. You guys
That's
don't
good.
even have to speak words. You know what the other person's gonna do.
That's awesome.
We've always been that way.
Yeah.
And I
That's
started
awesome.
doing light shows with John when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
So he taught me everything I know. Yeah.
I was a much more mature 19-year-old.
Yeah. So working at Fillmore West with Bill Graham was always very, very special to me because everybody else was, so much older than me. And I was only 13 and I was,
Wow.
able to be there and
Right.
enjoy that experience and do the light show. And he always kind of looked after me. I feel like Bill Graham was my mentor. And in many ways that I've carried through life with me. And so that's like a real highlight and very special to me, just like John is.
Yeah. So
Oh,
was
that's
Bill, because a lot of you guys, I think everybody here worked with Bill, right?
Yeah.
This panel.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh,
there's, they say that he was a difficult person to work with, but I also hear that he was actually nice to the light shows. I know he treated Josh
Yeah, he
well. And
No, he was good to us.
he was good. He was good to he was good to you guys. Well, I see some.
I mean, there were moments. We had a few moments. Like
Yeah.
I brought a film of Jim Morrison, Unknown Soldier, and I was showing it in the afternoon at 4:00. And I didn't think anybody was at. We were at Winterland with Alice Cooper, and all of a sudden I hear my name, or you're like, light show, get down here, and I look down, it's Bill. I'm going, oh no, uh-oh, we're in trouble. So my Charlie's like, you go down. I go, no, you go down. Okay, I'll go down. So
Right.
down I went, and he chewed me out for showing that. I said, no, we're just looking at it. It's okay.
Oh yeah. I've had some horror. Yeah, I think light show horror stories. Instead of what was your favorite gig, what was the worst one? I know I had one where it was when New Riders of the Purple Sage, and it was the lap steel player, the pedal steel player, not Jerry, but the new guy, and he hated the color green. And I don't know what it was, but during like sound check, he flipped out. He's like, "Listen, kid, I don't want you using the green." And then and it's a New Year's show, and then and then we're going, and it's a New Year's Eve show, and the band's jamming, and improvisation's going on. So I'm starting to use a lot of green just because I was feeling it in the moment, not even thinking about it. He stops and into the mic in the middle of the show, "I told you turn the fucking green down." Like I was like. And then like I got this look of pity from the from the sound guy, like, oh my God. Yeah. So
we had a somewhat similar situation at Winterland. I think it might have been Black Sabbath, but the number 2 band was Edgar Winter. And we had done the opening act, and the road manager for Edgar Winter comes up into the light show grid area. And he's saying, "Listen, not to offend you or anything, but we'd rather you didn't do a light show for our performance. And I said, sure, I understand it. It happens sometimes. Not a problem. But look, we just did a light show with the opening act. We're going to be doing a light show with Sabbath. It's going to look really weird if there's nothing there. I said, look, here's some hand-painted slides. See if there's one you like. I'll just put it up there behind you, okay? And then, okay, that'll work. How about one for the second song? Oh, that's nice. Okay, I'll do that one. And then by the third or fourth song, we're going full bore. And at the end of the night, he come up and said, that was really good.
He really liked it.
That's good.
That's funny.
It was.
We had that with Van Morrison, actually, same thing. No show. How about some stills? Okay. Full bore. Fourth night, we're like, the whole Marianne, it was just happening.
Hey, I got a question for John Hartman there. You guys didn't seem to have a lot of liquids in heavy water. It seemed like a lot of slides that you kind of did a lot of negative space with and kind of did collage work. Was that sort of the style of your show?
Well, so both with Deadly Nightshade and Heavy Water, we really did want to try to be different in some way that, that we would be distinguished from the other shows. And so we did focus a lot on motion picture film. And my real objective with doing light shows was not to use anybody else's material, but only my own or Joan's or Marianne's or whoever else I was working with. But Joan and Marianne had their own way of doing liquids, and it was very different from what my style was. And when Joan and I were performing together, I really didn't do liquids. That was her shtick. And her liquids were a very soft focus, very, sort of, we tried to put as much light through them as we could, but at the same time remain soft focus. So it was their own style of doing things, but it was very different from what I did with Deadly Nightshade. And I think that we did do fewer liquids as we progressed through doing planetariums, because it was really hard to do liquids in a planetarium.
Right.
Because the projector had to be tilted at such an angle, or you had to tilt the lens at such an angle that, it was hard to make liquids work really well in a planetarium. So we did end up, however, putting them into the show at various times. So that, because it really was something that attracted people, but we just continued to do Joan's liquids.
Yeah, I'm interested as well in your planetarium shows. I don't know if you just said it earlier, but like, when did you guys start doing them? And I know you did a lot of them in the 80s, right? And you guys toured around the country, and I've spoken to some folks in Florida who've seen your work. And
we started doing light shows in planetariums in the spring of 1973.
Oh, wow.
We visited Salt Lake City with the Grateful Dead, and we were doing shows at the Salt Palace with them. And Joan and Marianne, I said, hey, you guys, the planetarium in Salt Lake City, they hosted Rainbow Jam, the light show, Rainbow Jam, which was a native Salt Lake City light show. And I had heard that they'd played the planetarium. So we weren't the first by any stretch. I mean, I've heard stories about people working at the San Francisco Planetarium back in the 50s. So, but I said, you guys go down to the place and see if you can get them to hire us for a couple of weeks, and we'll stay here or whatever. And it worked. And we thought, wow, this is really cool. It's our own space. We can control it. Let's do some more. And so we booked ourselves into a tour that ended up taking us on the road for like 10 years.
That's awesome. How'd you guys, from a technical standpoint, how'd you set up your projectors? Were they around the perimeter, or were you from the center going out?
We tried everything we possibly could to make it work. And, if it meant putting projectors in the middle or all the way around, I mean, we did everything. We did actually started doing a lot of video at the, when we were in Europe. we worked in some planetariums in Europe that they really were into using video, and we thought, well, we've got a lot of video because we were generating material using video, and it's a very complicated process that we don't have to do that anymore because we can do it all in seconds on a computer. But we had an optical printer that we traveled with. We had a kinescope camera that we traveled with. We would rent time in big production studios and shoot all of our gear onto a rear projection screen and videotape it, and then do feedback, loop it through the system, and do analog effects on switchers.
Cool.
And, then we kinescope all of that so that we could actually show it in the planetarium. And
Wow.
I had both a 16 and a 35 millimeter motion picture cameras, and I would set them up to shoot off a video screen, right? And then optically print that again, use a 35 millimeter projector on a full dome with a fisheye lens, motion picture. So, it was
good.
it was a lot of production work that went into, and all of our equipment, all equipment is hot rodded, right? I mean, everybody has bigger fans, bigger lamps, better lenses. We did rotating stages on our slide projectors. We had a couple of Bob's gunsight turrets that he used, and put them to good use.
Yeah, good.
Rotating
Good to hear.
Radar screens or whatever they were. Yeah.
Yeah, bomb sights for
Yeah.
B-52.
Oh,
Okay, hey Bob, I got a question for you on the Brotherhood of Light. How many liquids did you guys do at Fillmore West? How many projectors did you guys do liquids on usually? I know it's a big liquid show.
Yeah, and big liquids, we'd have as many as 6 going.
6.
Wow.
And often, sometimes we'd have 3 in the center and then 1 on either side. And just with usually 2 layers of slides as well. And
Okay.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we did soup up the overhead so they were more powerful and had squirrel cage fans on them and things.
would this
Yeah.
have been
Bob
like
and I
the?
do a lot of shows together at the Fillmore. Bob was always very generous, inviting me to come over and be a guest artist. And then we
Yeah,
worked for a year at the place in Pepperland, San Rafael.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We worked everywhere.
Yeah, Pepperland was a good success too for a while.
Yeah, that was after the Fillmore, correct?
Yeah. And of course, I'm into right now. There's the art is everlasting, so it doesn't matter when you jump into it, and it goes on and on. So
Yeah.
just become a part of it and continue.
Oh, I have a question for you too, Bob. Are you aware of the your Universoul Lightforms video
Right.
that you have online? It's one of the most popular videos I see. I see it because you give it away for free, right?
Yeah. I'd like to see other people get a feel for using liquids in their own productions. It goes great with music, but
Yeah.
who hasn't had a musical artist tell you can't use my music? And so I like a certain music, and I know other people like certain music, so why not make it silent and everybody can use their own music, and I don't get sued.
It's been used a lot. I mean, I see it pop up in the most surprising places. Recently, a DJ that's affiliated with Cypress Hill, the rap group, he does live streams and he uses it in the background of every single one of his live streams.
Wow, awesome to hear. Yeah, I'll keep it up. I'm just getting started.
Yeah, it's a very popular video.
Awesome. Hey, John Brand.
Yeah.
Tell us about Baby. That's your, we showed it on our show.
Beautiful projector.
Yeah.
Well, Baby was based on a pair of Transpac projectors, which instead of using a Fresnel had a concave mirror, which prevented the the Fresnel from melting when it got too hot. When we did the Doors movie, they came out and did a film test with us at the Warfield Theater to see if it was going to work. And they said, we need more bright light out of you. It's not going to be bright enough. So we went out and geared up the fan, and racked them up to 2,000 watts each.
Wow.
And we could only
Wow.
work for a certain amount of time before the liquids would boil.
Yeah,
So,
that's too much.
so
Crazy.
one of the things that we had with the Unistrut thing is we could raise and lower the focal length infinitely. And we
Yeah.
had a variety of lenses that would go in and out. So we can go wide angle, distance, everything else just by flicking it in and raising it up and down to work. We had dimmers built in. We had a foot pedal on one of the dimmers. We
Wow.
had a plate rotator, which is what we call the bomb sight, that would work. And then we also had a huge strobe wheel that we could bring in or flick it up out of the way. And individual color wheels. Must have taken half an hour to set
It
that thing
did.
up.
It did.
Yeah, you
But
need to
it
put in
all
a pickup
folded down
truck, right?
into its own truck,
And it always worked.
in its own case.
Yeah.
It all just folded itself in together and slid over it, and it was great.
Awesome.
Oh.
Hey, George, I got a question. So tell me about your first light show. What was the name of it?
Oh, okay. So I met this guy named Charlie in '67 in spring about light shows. He says, "Hey, I hear you're doing, light show." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, let's get together." So we got a job at a show at the Boys Club in San Leandro, but we didn't have any clock faces, so we used pie plates, right? Pie plates. So someone came up and he said, "Hey, this is really great. What's the name of your show?" And I looked up. I got Pyrex. So later it's like, there's those guys from Pyrex. we had a reputation, Pyrex. It's like, cool, man. Pyrex. So every time I see that, I kind of chuckle now. I mean, it's great,
Yeah.
We were rock stars, like Pyrex.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Thank
Love
you.
it. Love it.
And the name Abercrombie, where does that come from? Does that come
Oh
from
boy, okay. I'll tell you, it's funny. Well, we really, Charlie and I really looked at Glenn McKay, everything about him, like his show, his style, even his life. Like, okay, we hear he worked in a department store back east, and sure enough, I got to know Glenn later and worked with him, and he said, "Yeah, I worked at JCPenney." So Charlie thought, well, let's call it Abercrombie, because Abercrombie at that time in the early '70s was it was in England. And there was no store here, and it was spelled different. So we did it Abecrombe. We spelled it different purposely, which everybody misspelled. It was hard to spell it right? But that's where that came from, because we wanted to honor Glenn in a way. We thought we would just name this. It's kind of obscure, but it's just one of those things. We thought, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened.
Did you guys go over to England to work after things kind of slowed down a bit in San Francisco, or
No, I just stayed in the Bay Area pretty much.
in the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys? So I mean, like, I know John kept going, but did you guys have like a lull after things kind of slowed down, or and then come back, or what was like your your work like during the dark ages, so to speak?
Definitely the dark ages. Okay, so let's see. Boy, it was after '73. There wasn't much happening up till about 80, 85, 86. I got a call from Matthew Katz to do a show with Moby Grape, and It's a Beautiful Day. And some guy up in Oregon came down, and I got a hold of John because I didn't have any gear. And John helped us out with a screen and I guess some overheads or something. I got this stuff, right? So, but unfortunately, the first night was just me because the guy from Oregon could come down, but we did like 2 shows. And the next night we were in Marin at the Civic Center.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And Skip Spencer was with the band at that time, which was pretty
good.
And John Brand had his John Brand presentation service, which supported all of us with equipment.
Yeah. Including us.
Yeah.
It was the thing is, we had commercial gear, which was very easily modified, because when we first started off doing the show, we had our own manual control panels to do the slides and advance the trays, kind of semi-automated. And then once we got into the professional multi-image stuff, we could crank the whole thing out and get it in and out using all the commercial gear and the stackers and everything else. And the best of all is we had the box trucks, which allowed us to get around and tour with.
That was great.
But probably one of the areas that we really enjoyed, which became one of our main fixtures, was the Exotic Erotic Ball, which went through a variety of locations and ended up at the concourse down at 8th and Brennan. And we started off on the main headliner stage on rear projection and scaffolding. It was terrible.
That was crazy.
And we ended up moving to the back room, which was the whole other half of the facility. We had a 16 by 60 foot stretch screen, and we were not that far away, so we could actually use this whole panorama. And we had it down to a science with a man left to get the thing up and rigged and everything. And it was, the load in was approximately 20 feet.
Right at the
Wow.
door.
We backed the
yeah.
truck up right to the door, opened it up, there it was, our
Oh, wow.
performance. No stairs, no ladders.
And no climbing scaffolding.
Yeah, it was like,
Good.
it was painless. And of course, it was the same people every time from a technical viewpoint. We'd have our production meeting. It's like, same thing. Yep. All right. See ya.
Awesome.
Right.
So power
I'm-
was there. You know, it was great. I mean, it was all level. We were on a slight mezzanine about 3 feet up, so people could walk in front of it and underneath it and be missed. And it was all projected up above it. It was just perfect.
People, there was
Wow.
like 15 to 20,000 people at that show, and the line was still around the corner, and the fire department was there because they can only allow so many people in. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was wild.
But yeah, I took that
had a
show
good
over
time.
after that, guys. I did the Cow Palace for about 5 years, 10 years.
Oh,
after that.
Cow Palace was a terrible thing.
Right.
Well,
Okay,
we
we're
did
done.
like 5 rooms there for Exotic.
Yeah.
We would do 5
Yeah.
different light shows going on at once. It was crazy, but we made a
Wow.
lot of money. And then I would take off and go to Hawaii for the winter.
We elected not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we still had a lot of other shows.
Yeah.
It
We
was great.
did a surprising number of corporate parties, which was fun.
They
Yeah.
were fun. They really were,
Yeah.
because people would go and, like,
What was that? Did we lose her?
Oh.
Yeah, I think we lost them. So
Oh,
there we
I
go. They're
remember
back.
when they used to be that. And then all of a sudden they're corporate people and they're like, oh, wow, I remember that,
Mhm.
and then they would come and up to the light show and, oh, where did you go to school to learn that? Well, wait a
Oh
minute.
yeah.
You were there, weren't you, at the shows? It was crazy, but they were fun. They were a lot of fun shows.
Yeah, folks
Yeah.
sometimes ask me like, "Where'd you learn this?" And it's like, there's
Yeah.
there's no school. And what's
That's
odd too,
right.
it's not now. It's kids sometimes they even ask, "How'd you invent this?" And I'm like,
Well, we did.
"Well, you
We
guys
did
did,
it.
yeah, you guys
Yeah.
did." But I'm saying kids, they come up to me sometimes and are like, what made you invent this? And I'm like, didn't invent it, and tell them about the history of everything. It's part of the reason why we're doing this show here is to,
Yeah.
maintain that history and raise awareness that this has been going on for a long time. And,
We'll continue.
yeah, and it will continue. That's definitely one of the positive things I see. If you guys are all on the Psychedelic Light Show Preservation Society group, and that's
Mhm.
growing in membership. And I sell supplies, and I see sales growing every year, and more people are interested in it. So I don't expect it to go away. I think it's we're very lucky that it's coming back.
So
Well,
for-
what was most interesting for me is my son, he was in middle school, and we're doing light shows, quite often. And all of a sudden he comes home and says, Mom, guess what? Our teacher was talking to us about light shows today. And he raised his hand and said, that's what my mom does. And I go do the shows with her. He goes, wow. He goes, I couldn't believe it.
That's
And
awesome.
she was trying, it was cool. He so brought that up to my attention. That was
We-
a highlight.
We did get the mess. We were doing the Doors movie and doing an all-night outdoor shoot
Oh, jeez.
at the Pulgas Water Temple behind Woodside.
Yeah.
And they had all these extras, which were students from San Francisco State University. They bust down. And during the lunch break at about 3:00 in the morning, several of them wandered back to where we were projecting behind the set, right? And they said, wow, this is so cool. We wish we'd been born sooner so we could have experienced this, but we learned about it in our history class.
And again, my son Joshua was there doing the show with us, performing. So it was fun.
That's cool.
It was a great experience.
Yeah, so Steve has got liquid light plates for sale and oils and stuff like that, and so he's kind of turning, the new generation onto this thing. And
Yeah.
do you guys still have your plates? I mean, I got my own sets. I know that the brands
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yep.
We ended up finding a whole bunch of bars that we've now reconsolidated. We have two full sets of plates now.
Oh,
I
nice.
kept them all.
And where do you
Yeah.
guys, I guess that's an interesting question, you know, because they come from clocks, but you know, do you guys have any good stories of how you came across them, or?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's sort of like it's sort of like finding a magic ring when you find that good plate, you know, it's, yeah, I don't know if you guys have any good stories or any lucky finds.
Yeah, I have one on that.
Sure.
We discovered that all of the clocks at a certain college on the peninsula, who I will not name, were 12-inch, right? And they were just held with a spring clip around the edge of the thing.
I see where this is going.
Yes, they all disappeared over about a year.
Wonder where they went.
Yeah.
So once when we
My son
were
started collecting them in school.
Let's let John Hartman talk.
when we were on the East Coast in New York, and looking for plates, and you know, in New York you can get anything anytime, right? So
Glass.
I found a factory in Brooklyn that makes clock faces.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable selection of clock faces. And
Oh, wow.
of course we just went wild. We got
Wow.
never used, but yeah, no, I only have one clock face left, unfortunately. And God, now I wish I had not had to get rid of all of my gear, but at some point it just became too much and it was not being used. And it was a sad story, but we had to do it. At some point you just have to lighten the load. And most of our equipment at that point had been used so hard that it was just barely hanging together. You know, it really reached its lifespan because we used it a lot, and we didn't really ever have any real equipment problems. One time we blew a transformer in Germany, and it basically shut down half the show.
Oh,
And you know, what can you do? It's like nothing really. I mean, you have to put out the fire basically. In that case, literally, it was smoking.
Okay.
And I really didn't want to see a transformer get on fire because that would have been bad. But yeah,
Absolutely.
no, unfortunately, I don't have any more of my gear except for some movie projectors.
Yeah.
George, you got any plates?
Yes, I do actually. There's a guy that I just bought them from. I think he's in Michigan. They're flat and they're slightly curved up, you know, they're just nice plates. All the ones back, all the original ones that we got from West Clocks from Sacramento didn't have anymore. So I had to rebuild the show pretty much. So in the last, I'd say 10 years, I've been building up, and more so recently in 5. I got a grant from the city of Sacramento to do a show. And so I bought a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I'm really happy that I have it now. Plus video projectors.
Nice.
Oh yeah, they're great. How about you, Bob? Obviously, you've got your plates.
I've got three or four bottoms and 3 or 4 tops, and I still make liquids in the corner of my bedroom. I pull the black thing across, and I got the projector set up with the camera mounted on the top of the head, shooting down, and by golly, it records the liquid in high definition, and then you can play with it with Premiere and the computer and do all kinds of things to it.
Oh, yeah.
And it can all fit to music. A lot of us have this natural talent that kind of goes with the music, and
Yeah, the fingers.
yeah, and when the music plays, it kind of stimulates us, and the music fits the lights in some way, and there's some kind of nirvana attained. And so there's a lot of good things that about this, a lot of positive things that will come to pass.
Yeah, it's a visual instrument. You know, you can play it rhythmically. You can express emotion through liquids. That's works in tandem or accents the music or harmonizes with the music just in the mind.
Yeah, it's a trick. The challenge is to move slowly and have an uplifting movement, and And, you know, the colors, of course, and the shape and the clarity of the image and the composition, and it all fits together. And then music, if you can find the music that fits it, then it's a beautiful experience. And it's one that people can enjoy over and over again, thanks to the video.
Oh yeah.
It is.
You know, I think it's been fantastic that we're all getting together on this thing. I'm looking at everybody and everybody's energized, and you know, I can't do a show, but I can do this show, and I'm really happy you guys came on with us. And I think it's been really great, and meeting some new friends. So
yeah, it's really nice to see everybody,
man. It's really awesome, man.
Yeah, it's really nice to see everybody, you know, meet you guys in person. And, you know, I've known about you guys through, you know, literature or the groups or posters, you know. So it's really, really nice seeing everybody here.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great to all be together.
Let this moment live forever.
Right.
Right on. Well, it will be. It's going to be about a month from now. We'll be airing the show. So
cool.
You know, you will live on.
Oh yeah.
Is the world ready for us? We shall see.
I think it's great bringing this back in to bring it to a new crowd of people, you know, younger people that haven't seen this, and teaching them, giving them ideas, you know, because then this legacy lives on. You know, we're able to carry it in, you know, play it forward. I think it's kind of cool.
Absolutely, plays it forward, and then it also evolves a bit too. You know, now we have different technologies, and you know, like you're mentioning, using video, and I know Chris uses video, and I use a hybrid of live and video, and you know, many things that are now possible with technology that you know wouldn't be, you know, some of the gear that I can now fit into a, you know, a clip and just play, you know, along with something live. It wouldn't be logically feasible to even bring half that stuff to a venue, you know what I mean, or do it by myself.
200 amps of power and
exactly,
12 feet of stage,
but, you know, and who knows what else is, you know, and who else knows what else where else technology is going to bring us. You know, now we have video walls, and screens are becoming the size of a sheet of paper for a video screen. So it's going to keep evolving.
Hopefully they won't forget about the unity that's brought together. It brings people together, and they can work together like jazz.
Absolutely.
People can work their instruments together, not necessarily the same instrument.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Best shows I've ever done have been in, you know, collaborating with another artist or several artists. Those.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, those always really feel alive, and those always feel really good.
I'm sure some of you guys remember the Light Artist Jam that we did at the Family Dog on the Great Highway. You guys were all there, I think, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
We were.
I missed that one.
I don't remember it.
Actually did
must have been great.
Yeah,
I wasn't
great.
I wasn't born.
I think I did more than one. I have posters from I did the poster for that, and I found the original for the second show. I haven't found the original for the first show, so maybe I only did the second show. I honestly don't remember.
Totally, I can relate.
One of those things that you. I was
you were there.
You know, there's a symbiotic thing like with the brands jamming together, and my partner Pete, when he did liquids and I did all kinds of hard images, and I think working together with a person, you know, is kind of the great part of light shows too. You know, not just, you know, I'm doing it solo now because it's just economically that way, but you know, having a group of people like, you know, the Fillmore, you guys used to have like 5 or 6 people doing the show, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. We'd all get together and just jam it out, and it all came together on the screen.
Yeah,
so
that was great. And I was doing liquids.
Yeah,
just as a historical footnote, I've known Suzie for 54 years. We've been close friends the entire time. We got married 2 years ago.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
God, I thought you guys were in your 40s. What do you mean?
Brothers and sisters in the light, right? Yeah.
He actually had to ask my dad, John Brand had to ask my dad permission if I could go do the light shows when I was 13 years old. And my dad said, as long as Suzie does all of her homework, goes to school, you know, gets all of her work done and like that. And I would go to school with liquids on my hands from after Fillmore West four nights in a row, right? So Thursday nights load in, do the show, perform the show. And then we didn't have to tear it down, but I had to go to school the next morning and I had liquids all over my hands. And I was tired, but I was there. He promised my dad I would, and I did.
Just remember, youth is wasted on the young.
I'm so glad my dad let me go.
That's words of wisdom.
Awesome.
All right.
I love your dog, John.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's like a whippet.
Likes to watch TV.
Would be good.
Is that a greyhound or a whippet, John?
So
It's
we're
a
about
whippet.
hour 15 right now, Steve.
Yeah,
Chris,
something like that. Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
thank you, Chris, for putting this together. Both of you guys, Chris and
Yeah,
Steve.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, you're
thank
welcome.
you.
great.
thanks for showing up. I really
I
appreciate it.
really
Yeah.
appreciate doing
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you,
welcome.
Chris.
Right
Thank
on.
I'll be in
Chris.
touch with all of you. This is a great thing to keep going. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and I mean, we can definitely have another show as well. We're just getting
Sure.
started. This is only our sixth episode, so
Very cool.
there's
All
a
right.
lot of potential
No,
for our show.
I'm
We've
motivated.
we got like 3 more decades to work through, so don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
Hey,
funny.
George Holden,
Yes,
George,
sir.
can you send me your phone number?
Yes, I
Good.
will. I'll do it.
Thank you.
We're on Messenger, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay, great.
All right, John.
All right. May the art continue.
All right.
Yes.
We're going to sign
may
off.
the
So
art continue.
everybody say goodbye to our viewers. We have at least 500 these days.
Great.
So
Wow.
hey,
Wow.
have a good night, everybody.
Okay.
Peace and love.
Just send money.
And send money. Send love and money.
Send love and money.
All right, bye everybody.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.